Good afternoon. Welcome to the Boca Grande History Center. My name is Jim Blaha, and I'm the volunteer director of the History Center. And we are delighted that you could join us today in sharing an exciting acquisition that the History Center just recently received. About a year ago, the Boca Grande History Center received a phone call from a family in Tennessee. And this family was involved in downsizing their home, and they were cleaning out their attic. And in the process of doing that cleaning, the owner of the house found a group of books, or a collection of books and documents that referred to Boca Grande and the Boca Grande Land Company, and to the Peace River Mining Company, and to the Bowker Chemical Company. These were items, documents, records relating to basically the early history of the commercial development of Boca Grande. Now, this lady did not know or ever hear about Boca Grande. So she went on Google and found the name of Boca Grande, discovered the Boca Grande Historical Society website, and called us here. Actually, our director at that time received a call, and this lady shared that she had some documents and she needed some information about those documents. So the director referred the phone call to me, and I had the pleasure of talking with this lady, and she wanted information about a company known as the Bowker Chemical Company, which existed back in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. So I did have some information with her, and I shared that information, and she then proceeded to tell me what else was included in this collection. Books and records of not only the Bowker Chemical Company, but the Boca Grande Land Company and the Boca Grande Corporation, the American Agricultural Chemical Company, and these are all companies that existed and became important components in the history of Boca Grande. And then she proceeded to ask me if we would be interested in receiving those documents. Of course, I became excited. I tried to play it cool, but I became excited. And after some discussion, she agreed to deed all of those materials to the Boca Grande Historical Society and History Center. I asked the lady if she would mail the box with the books to my home, because I wanted to make sure they were not lost in the mail and that indeed we would receive them in good shape. And that was done. So when the box was received and I opened it up and looked at the materials, I even became more excited. And when I brought the materials here to the History Center, I exclaimed with great excitement, "My God, this is the Magna Carta for Boca Grande." Now, as you all know, the Magna Carta was a political document in England in 1215 that provided a foundation for democratic government. Well, I felt these books were the foundation for the commercial development of Boca Grande. So I used the phrase Magna Carta, and it seemed to catch on. So we now call this collection the Magna Carta Collection for Boca Grande. As I paged through the materials here at the History Center and shared them with some of our other volunteers and staff members, it was determined that the materials were not in good shape. And so we had to decide whether to simply place them into acid-free containers and put them in storage, or embark on a journey by which we could restore and conserve these materials. The discussion didn't last very long, because very quickly we decided we would make a serious attempt to preserve these materials. Now I have to give you some background here. The materials, the books, the documents that we received all center upon the Bowker Chemical Company, the Peace River Mining Company, the Boca Grande Land Company, and the Boca Grande Corporation. So some history here is necessary. In 1899, the American Agricultural Company, a conglomerate, was created. Now, prior to that time, phosphate was being mined in Central Florida, and you had the growth of many small mining companies. Eventually, those companies were purchased by the AAC. Now that was American Agricultural Chemical Company. Now that was in 1899. That company bought up the Peace River Mining Company, and also in 1903, the Bowker Chemical Company. The lady who had deeded the books to us had a distant relative or an ancestor that had worked for the Bowker Chemical Company. So in 1899 again, the AAC, American Agricultural Chemical Company, was formed. They purchased the Bowker Chemical Company, they purchased the Peace River Mining Company. And so all of these materials relate to either the American Agricultural Chemical Company, or the Bowker Chemical Company, or the Peace River Mining Company. And they date back to as early as 1902. Indeed, here we have in this display case a copy of minutes taken at various meetings of the of the Peace River Mining Company. And they're beautiful. They are in script and in old typewriter print. And this book, dating back to 1902, is in perfect condition. So we didn't have to do much with the preservation. Now, speaking of preservation, I want to go back to what my previous comments about a decision to preserve. There were many steps necessary to successfully complete this project. First, we had to find someone who could, in fact, preserve these documents, which were not in good shape. In fact, they were in bad shape. So we searched, sent out a search, and finally identified a person, actually the only conservator in the state of Florida, who might agree to help us in this project. So we asked this, her name is Sophia or Sonia Mowry, and we asked her to come to the History Center and look at these documents to see how she could help us, or if she could help us preserve these documents and restore them. You have to understand, pages were wrinkled, there were holes in some of the pages, there were glue stains, and it was a project that we were not sure could in fact be completed. Well, when Sonia did arrive here and look at the materials, she became as excited as we were, and she said, yes, I will help you out, and I will agree to work on these documents and preserve them. So we sent all the documents with her, and the project was not completed until 6 months later. Now, another step is this, as kind as this lady is, there was a fee involved. And so we had to embark on a journey to raise approximately $20,000 just for the restoration of these documents. And fortunately, we identified or found 6 major donors who provided the funds necessary. And so upon completion of the documents, they arrived here at the History Center. And as you view these documents, you will note that most of them, or all of them with the exception of one, are in newer binders. What the conservator did was to take the materials after they were cleaned up, and that took 6 months, and put them in binders that looked like the original. And then took each page and put them into mylar sleeves, so in fact people could look at them, that they wouldn't be hidden and dusted off and brought out on occasion. Now the next step in the process of completing this project was to decide how are we going to make these materials available for viewing for the citizens and residents and visitors to Boca Grande. Now, as I think I indicated earlier, the process of conservation is a very detailed and painstakingly a challenge for anyone attempting to bring the documents to their original appearance. So we were cautious in determining standards by which visitors may view these documents, because obviously we didn't want to provide excessive exposure that might damage them. So we talked among ourselves here and decided that it would be appropriate for us to consider purchasing a museum quality display case. And by museum quality, we refer to thickness of the glass, the UV rating of the glass, creating a vacuum in the case, and creating a venue by which we proudly would share these materials with the public. Now you have to keep in mind that 5 out of the 6 books were preserved in a fashion in which the pages were placed in mylar sleeves, so people could turn pages and look at what was printed on those pages. But we were still concerned about how we can best protect these documents. So in any case, we embarked on a search for an appropriate supplier or a source of obtaining a museum quality case. And our conservator recommended a company located in Maryland. So I called the Maryland office of this company, and we had a discussion, and it was discovered that this company produced most of the equipment or display related equipment for major museums throughout the United States, and that they would create a display case according to our specs in terms of what we needed and according to what we thought would best show these documents and make them available to our visitors. This involves then taking pictures or photos of our History Center, providing dimensions and other related materials. This was somewhat of a tedious process. But upon completion of providing those materials, the company said yes, they could help us. And so they in turn notified a company in Germany that manufactured display cases of high quality. And after all, these are treasures, these documents, so why not go for the gold, to speak? Let's get a display case for the History Center that not only shows off or provides a showcase for these materials, but is something that the History Center can be very proud of in terms of having it in its possession. So we talked some more with the designers in Germany, and we agreed upon then a cost involved for what we needed. So the next challenge was, how do we pay for the display case? And so what we did was make a proposal to the Women's Club of Boca Grande, and they graciously agreed to fund the acquisition of the display case that you see right here. And the glass is very thick. It is UV rated, and of course when the cover is down, it creates a vacuum in there, which assists in the preservation of the material that we have in here. And we plan to kind of change the books in the exhibit periodically in the display case, because we do not have room to display all the books at one time unless we host a special events. So that is how we obtained the display case. Now, it took 6 months for this display case to be constructed. And the next challenge then, given current challenges about shipping and supply chains and so on, is what might happen if it's on a ship stalled in some port somewhere in the United States. So after 6 months, we discovered that the case was going to be shipped from Germany and would arrive at a port in Florida. And we were very fortunate that the supplier decided to ship it to Miami, Florida, because if it had been shipped to California, it might still be in some kind of cargo hold on that ship out in the Pacific Ocean. So then we arranged for the display case to be shipped by truck to the Boca Grande History Center. And of course we're worrying about what happens if the case is dented or the glass is scratched and so on. But to make a long story short, the case arrived, it was unpacked and unloaded, and it was and is in perfect condition. So that's how we arrived at obtaining the display case. So now we have the documents preserved. Now we have the display case. So the next step is to decide, how do we make these materials available to visitors to the History Center and to the people of Boca Grande, because these are materials, these are documents that one would generally find in a major archive of a major university. But we're not about to give them up. These documents belong to the island. They belong to the people of Boca Grande. And they proudly give you or illustrate many of the steps or components of the development of commercial Boca Grande. So we have books, again let me summarize, from the Peace River Mining Company, from the American Agricultural Chemical Company, from the Bowker Fertilizer Company, and from the Boca Grande Land Company and the Boca Grande Corporation. And the viewers will be able to turn the pages that are in Mylar sleeves and view these exciting documents. By the way, that also have exciting signatures, like Peter Bradley, president of the AAC. Governor Gilchrist's signature is on one of the documents. And as you know, we have Gilchrist Avenue, or Boulevard, on Boca Grande. Albert Gilchrist was a governor of the state of Florida and has a storied history here in Florida. And in fact, we have one document that even has John Foster Dulles, former Secretary of State, on it, because he became one of the directors of the American Agricultural Chemical Company. So these materials now are available for people to view. We are proud to have been able to obtain these materials, and we're proud that they're located here at the History Center, which belongs to the people of Boca Grande.